Let's practice measuring and make some donut muffins. I have my sieve and my bowl ready to go. That's where my dry ingredients are going to be measured into. First, my flour. Make sure you always spoon flour into the measuring cup. And I'm going to use the flat side of a knife to gently level it off. There we go, nice and fluffy, that's what you want. Now my baking powder. I need 3/4 of a teaspoon here, so I'm using 1/2 and 1/4, but I could just use 3 1/4. Now I'm going to level it on the side of the container. And my salt. Don't pour it over the bowl. You're going to level it over something else. There we go. Now my spices. See that spice container has a lip on the inside? You can stick your spoon in the container and level it. Pretty neat. If your container doesn't have that, you could just level it with a knife. Now this, I needed 1/8 of a teaspoon and I don't have an 1/8, so I just filled up the 1/4 teaspoon halfway. It's fine. Sift it together. You want it nice and fluffy. Now my liquid ingredients. For my brown sugar, we need to press this into the cup to get rid of air pockets. And we level it off. It should look like a sandcastle if you did it right. Looks good. Now my granulated sugar, I can just dip this in and sweep it with the flat side of a knife. My pumpkin, I need to press this into the measuring cup as well. Notice I'm using a dry measuring cup here. That's the only way to really press things into a cup. Press it in, get rid of all those air pockets, and make sure you level it. Perfect. I have some melted butter here. I just used the side of the package to measure it. I melted it for about 30 seconds in the bowl. Make sure you scrape it. My oil. Now my liquid measuring cup is ideal, but it does not have a 1/4 cup measure. So I'm gonna have to improvise and use a dry measuring cup. But do know if your liquid measuring cup has the right measurements on it, that's ideal for all liquids. Now we need our egg. Always crack eggs in a separate bowl. We don't want any shells or blood in our muffins. Looks good. In the bowl. Okay, we're ready to mix. I'm gonna whisk my liquid ingredients together, just until they're incorporated. Then I'm gonna add that into my dry ingredients. Make sure you scrape out all the liquid ingredients. You might need to use a rubber scraper for this. Now I'm gonna use my rubber scraper to gently mix my muffin batter. It looks like this at first. Keep mixing. There we go, nice and incorporated. At this point, you can refrigerate the batter. I actually think it bakes up a little bit better if you refrigerate it, so we'll give that a try today. You could also bake it right away. Now we're ready to scoop. So I'm gonna line my muffin tin with some liners. We're only making 6. Use your cookie scoop and scoop your batter into the muffin liners. The scoop is great because it helps you make sure your muffins are the exact same size, which means they're gonna bake evenly. If you have extra batter, just top off the rest of the muffins. Okay, they're ready to go into a super hot oven so they get nice and tall. And they're done. Here's how we check them. You're gonna lightly tap the top of the muffin, and if it springs back like this, it's done. That means it's set. Okay, for our topping, we need to melt our butter. Here's the tools we need. I'm gonna use a fork to get these out. Our butter is looking good. It took about 30 seconds in the microwave. Now use a fork and carefully go underneath the muffins to lift them out. They might be hot, so be careful. Put them on a plate first before you do your topping. Now it's time for our butter. We have a couple options. You could spoon the butter on top of each muffin. That works fine. You could also use a pastry brush. It's gonna look like way too much butter, but trust me, just use all of it. Time for our cinnamon sugar. You can dip the tops of each muffin, but they're really hot, so you might want to switch to a spoon. I know it looks like too much, but I promise it's gonna be good. And there they are, our delicious pumpkin muffins.